Minister Danny Kruger.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. And let me start by giving credit where it's due to the Right Honourable Lady for her very powerful speech and for all the work that she's done on this campaign over the years, and indeed to many other honourable members opposite who have spoken so well today and for some time, particularly Member for Hayes and Harlington, who I always listen to with respect on this topic and indeed on some others. And it's been a great, it's been good to hear from some others. I particularly welcome the contribution of the Member for Lower and Grangemouth, a great new addition to this place. I think we see here the true voice of the Labour Party. This is the Labour movement at its best sitting opposite me, and I pay them tribute for their campaigning on this topic, the heroes of the movement. We've also got the heroes of the Conservative Party behind me, Knights of the Shires, my good friends. Honoured to listen to them. It's like listening to Edmund Burke when the member for South Holland and the Deepings speaks about duty and responsibility. So I congratulate the Right Honourable Lady and the Right Honourable Gentleman for their work together on this campaign. And it brought, the campaign brought the Westminster Hall debate that's been mentioned a few times, Madam Deputy Speaker, a couple of months ago, a very significant debate. And on that day, as if the product of their work out-popped, fresh and pink, the new minister himself, appointed on that day to this role, as if for the very purpose of answering the question about what should be done for the WASPI women. And there was great hope from him, but I'm afraid to say we were disappointed on that day that he could offer no hope at all. And yet, since then, Madam Deputy Speaker, we have seen a whole series of U-turns which have become fashionable on that bench over there, and who knows what we might hear today from the Minister. Now, I do recognise, and I'm sure he will stress, how difficult it is to address the very complicated circumstances of very many women who have been caught in the changes of the pension age. And it is true, as I'm sure he will say, that the Ombudsman has recognised that there was no direct impact on pensioners' incomes from the maladministration and the miscommunication that the DWP was guilty of in the 2000s. But as members have said, particularly I recognise the point made by the Honourable Member for Strangford, women made decisions about their futures, about their lives, in ignorance of their true circumstances. And it was that failure by the DWP to successfully and appropriately communicate to the women that caused them to make decisions that directly did disadvantage them. And it is simply not credible, and I hope the Minister will not advance this argument, that correspondence from government is somehow essentially pointless, that it has no value, because that would be to suggest there is no point in any government communications by post. Of course, it is the case that women were not advised of the changes in their circumstances, and that it is the government's fault, the government of the day's fault, that that didn't happen. And as many members have said, and I just want to acknowledge the powerful point made by the member for St Albans just now, women deserve so much more. And as she said, our constituents feel that they have been robbed of not just money, but of their dignity in consequence of these decisions. So what is to be done, Madam Deputy Speaker? There have been a series of suggestions about how we might go forward. Just on a point of process, I don't agree with the member for Harrogate and Knaresborough, and I'm concerned that my right honourable friend, I think, seemed to agree with him, that the Ombudsman's report should be effectively binding on government. I don't think that's appropriate. These are sovereign decisions that government, accountable to Parliament, should be making. But I do agree with him and others that these reports should be respected by government, and I feel that that has simply not happened in this case. Happy to give way.
I thank him for giving way. It's becoming a habit of mine intervening on him. He says that the report should be respected, but it shouldn't be binding. What does he have in mind? How would this look?
Well, I'm grateful to him. I think it is absolutely essential that the points made in the Ombudsman's report are fully acknowledged by the government, and I think it is necessary, as I'll explain, that some meaningful redress is made to the victims of the maladministration of DWP. Now, the Honourable Lady suggested that there could be another review into the system by the member for East Ham. I don't think that the magic words Tim's review are going to get the government out of this particular hole. The member has enough on his hands sorting out the mess they've made on benefits. So this is a job for this minister, who's a very clever man. I have great confidence in him. And I think the suggestion of mediation that's been suggested by some honourable members may be usefully taken forward. But as my friend, the member for New Forest East, said, it is simply insulting of the government to make absolutely no redress, no acknowledgement of the injustice that the WASPI women have endured. And it is appropriate that some acknowledgement, some meaningful acknowledgement, is made. It's not for me to rescue the government from the consequences of their own incontinence, their fiscal folly that has got them into the mess that they're in. But it is the case that a whole series of discretionary payments have been made by this government since they came to power. Salary increases for train drivers without any improvement in productivity, the creation of a multi-billion-pound energy company that makes no energy, paying another country billions of pounds to take away sovereign territory belonging to the UK, and of course a whole series of U-turns which have imposed significant new costs on the taxpayer. They've cost £5 billion this week alone in their U-turns. So it is obviously the case that the government can make discretionary payments if it wants to, and these are sovereign decisions that it can make. But crucially, Madam Deputy Speaker, any such decision must be funded. And we saw this week, the government essentially fell apart in consequence of a whole series of bad decisions made in the Treasury when Parliament rose up against the Treasury and demanded change. So the decision-making at the heart of government has been woeful for this last year since Labour have been in office. And I pay tribute to parliamentarians who resisted that this week. Now there is a new opportunity for the government to put right a mistake. And I look forward to hearing how the Minister proposes to do that.